again. Yeah, very good to see you.
Brother boy,
Yep.
thanks for coming on. Now CJ's going to do his little acknowledgement.
I've got one as well if you want to, but I'll do it after you.
Yeah, you can do yours in 1
At
second.
the moment,
You can kick off if you want. Go for your life, brother.
I'll like listen to you. No, you go first, and I'll go with my talk.
Well, good afternoon, gents. Back again on JB and CJ, checking in, and we're checking in with David Brockman again after probably about a year, I think. So, but I've got to say, I'm going to acknowledge country. I'm on Bunjalung country, or Yugan just to the north of us. So I'm down the southern end of the Gold Coast, like JB. I'd like to pay my respects to my people from up north in Cairns, the Yidinji people, and also my father's side, which is up in the Torres Straits, the Badigal people. So, and I'll pay my respects also to the elders, past, present, and emerging. JB.
Very well said, brother. Very well said. I also would like to acknowledge all traditional custodians wherever we're meeting from and playing and working, and also pay special tribute to my mob down there, the Muddy people down in southwestern New South Wales, and pay the utmost respect to all our elders, past, present, and any upcoming, and also pay tribute to our old people and our ancestors for getting us where we are today. Over to you, Dr. Dave Brockman. Thanks so much for coming on.
Okay, so in Jandai, Yura Niara, Wanyai Nyali Yadni, Nari Bujam Jara, Gurijan, Bajubaru, Wuni Yura, Yura Gurijan, Jara, Naliyajan Gulam, Nali Jagajan, Mugaja Murumba Balga Yarigana, Nguru Jujina Yalbugali, Wanyai Narija, Kwanamuka Jara, Nariba Balga Guberan. So, hello everyone. Today we walk on our Mother Earth. I acknowledge elders, past, present, emerging. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the country from where you were from, and the good spirits where we gather, talk, think, and understand. May the joy and happiness of my country, the Quandamuka, be with you all today.
Love that, brother. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Thank you very much.
Now, Dr. Dave, I've known you a fair while. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to, brother.
These days, well, as you know, I'm from my family comes from Mulgumpen, from Moreton Island, and I've been living here on Minjerribah or North Stradbroke Island for the last 5 years, just doing doctoring in the clinic here, as you know, in the Aboriginal Medical Service. And as you know, my background is obviously I've got a degree in general practice and all that, and medicine, and I've got I've done stuff as well in psychology, have degrees in psychology as a psychologist. And I guess lately I've been mainly doing a lot of work with people around using, mindfulness Buddhist practice, integrating that with our own practice as well, and seeing how those things kind of intertwangle and kind of interrelate in many ways that they do. And using that to help with, addiction and mainly anxiety, depression, chronic pain. And of course, we can talk about that if you like. It's always an interesting topic.
But, it's your hour, brother. Talk about whatever you want.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about. Yeah, that's what I've been doing a bit of lately. I just got back from the snow, just today actually. I went up to the snow, which is, it's a funny thing, isn't it? Like when I was younger, I'd never imagined I'd ever see the snow. It was like only rich people, I had these like dreams that I thought I'd never do, and skiing and going to the snow and, so it's an experience. It's just like, it's something that, I kind of just all that kind of land, that whiteness, that it's so different to the sand and the sea, and but it all has its own desert quality about it. It has its own kind of quality of stillness. vastness, and that you can connect with. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave,
Um,
I've seen you running up and down those hills there as well.
no,
What was going on there,
yeah.
bro?
Well, at my age, I get really unfit. Like when I was young, I was really fit. Like I used to do boxing and and so could run rings. But these days, I get tired walking up a hill. A small one at that. So I had to get back into shape. Just running up hills and getting up a sweat, getting ready for the snow. I do think it's really good to like set little goals for yourself. Like say, okay, I'm going to go to the snow. I'm going to walk, through that country, and I'm going to, be fit enough to walk up those hills. And that's what I tried to do. My next goal is I think I'm going to paddle up to Morgumpin. So next fitness thing, I'm going to get up for some fitness with on the water there. So just having little things that I'm doing, like having little projects that I do. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
Now, I don't know who that has said that, but someone said they would love to hear about mindfulness and how it is being used in integrated holistic practices. Dr. Dave?
Okay. Well, let's start. So I guess the question is always, is like, what is enlightenment? Okay. And basically the thing was Buddha, talked about waking up. Well, all the Buddha means is someone who's woken up. And I always say, what have you woken up to? And all you've woken up to really is that your head's full of shit, and you really engage a lot of mental magnification, proliferation. That's really just not part of your actual experience. And that's really all it is, just waking up to that. A lot of the time, we talk that we have 5 senses, our eye, ear, tongue, body, mind. But we also have a 6th sense, which is our mind, which integrates everything. And in the West especially, we just pay far too much attention to what our mind's doing, the chatter going on in our mind. And so we actually have moved away from what is actually an embodied experience of our body, or even a grounded experience, which is so if you come from that experience where you're actually not coming from your mind and its proliferation and it's bullshit really, and you're really coming from what is an embodied sense of your soma, yourself, or even a sense of groundedness in earth, or even from your heart, or you're coming from the other senses, then you're having a direct experience, and when that happens, you get what happens is insight arises. You see things clearly. Instead of seeing yourself as being separate and having this me story going on, you kind of more have a more openness, and you see things as being interconnected, and that's what wisdom really is. And a lot of the time, these are very ancient practices. They go back thousands of years. We know that when we look at our people are heavily engaged in these practices of mindfulness. We can see, rock art of our dreaming figures in meditation pose. We know that our people engage in quite deep mindfulness, quite deep spiritual practices, and that was part of our everyday life, part of our survival, part of how we connected to ourselves and to the experience realm. So what we're talking about here is a radical act of embodiment. So it's like an act of self and other embrace, if that makes sense. And that's purely through the act of, mindfulness is a start, and mindfulness is just being aware of what is happening as it's happening, without the mental chatter going on. And there are some, practices that you can do to get to that. And, of course, a lot of this isn't philosophy. This is stuff we do, it's stuff we practice, and it's stuff that if you do so it, it will change you, because you will see through the delusion of yourself as being separate. And you will hopefully, once all that chatter is in abeyance, under control, then you have that direct experience. And from that, then if we don't see ourselves as separate and special and flawed and lovable, and that fear is kind of brought under control a bit through our direct experience, then we just become actually more integrated and in my experience happier, So, and I'm not saying this out of just bullshit philosophy. I mean, this stuff kind of saved my life, at a time in my life when it was very when it wasn't pretty miserable actually. Yeah.
Oh. Thanks. And I do have to apologize, good sister Fiona Carreras, that asked that question too. So,
it's a lovely question.
Name. So, so beautiful question. So, thanks for filling us in on that, Dave.
I've got a question. Then I was just listening to what you were saying, and is it kind of like when you're in that space in that place, it allows, is that help as well in terms of healing yourself? I mean, whether it's mind or body,
it creates a space where all things are possible. Like a lot of the time, like you're getting in the way of yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're getting in the way of your own healing. Your own me story, creates limitations and creates fear.
Yeah.
And we have it. Like we have this trauma from past generations. From even from our own lives. I was talking to someone the other day. Our parents didn't mean to. My father didn't mean to, but they fuck us up. And I don't want to be disrespectful in many ways, but they do breed with the seed of fear and kind of that kind of guilt in us, which is rather interesting. I was at this in the mountains there, and I was having dinner, and there's this family next to me, and the kids are mucking up, and the parents were telling the kids, be kind to your sister and stuff. And I said to my mate, I said, you know what? When I was earliest memory of when I was younger was being taught that was how to throw a punch. That my automatic reaction, like if someone picks on me, was to fight. Was to and basically if I come home from school complaining about how I was teased, I was just told, bloody. It's not from so that's what I'm saying is my reaction is not one of acceptance and embrace. It's one of defense. I pick up a stick.
Now, Dave, I just wanted to jump in there. So it's really important what you're saying there about what we're taught as young fellas and how to react to different situations, and that whole aspect about be a man, don't be a little girl, get up and fight. That's what you're saying, brother. That's what's come into it. So then it masks our emotions as fellas, and it takes a long time to get that back. Now, the second, and this one's a question, Dave, with what you were talking about then with regards to fear, how much fear has been put into the world around COVID-19?
Well, what I've seen is everyone's fear level's gone up a few notches, So fear is that thing again. Is where we're defending ourselves. Okay, we're defending ourselves against a threat. And that's what we do. Is humans are fantastic at seeing problems and solving problems. But and also very good at thinking our way through things. But sometimes, that thinking we think too much about the wrong things. And it takes us away from our enjoyment of life. Really, yeah. Like I've noticed a lot of my patients are really reactive. Yes, very quick to anger.
Yeah.
Because once that's fair, like I remember I said to you, it's not so much. We always think that the issue is that we attack somebody else. Okay, we always think, okay, I'm going to there's a threat there, and the damage is done when I hit somebody. But the actual thing, damage is done because you actually pick up a stick in elf terms, we pick up a stick in the first place.
First terms, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And we're picking up a stick to do what? We're picking up a stick to defend ourselves, to defend a me, to defend a kind of a what I believe to be myself, the me story. And often when we look at this me story, this thing we're defending, it actually doesn't exist, and it actually is the thing that's getting in the way. So it's not about, the solution isn't about not hitting somebody. The solution is, okay, I'm picking up the stick, but I'm picking up a stick to defend something. And so the actual thing you have to see through is the me story and the self delusion, the thing that needs to be protected. It sounds counterintuitive to what I was taught, because I was taught, to about disrespect and to defend and all that, but in many ways, that's my working ground these days,
Yeah, well said, brother. Well said.
Very interesting. Yeah, that get up and go, get up and do things. Get up and get up, and you're taught that get up and have breakfast, or get up and do this, do that. Make your bed, do this, that sort of stuff. I'm just listening and I'm thinking, hey, I'm just trying to recollect, some of the messages that I got when I was a kid, I suppose. But when we talk about this mindfulness stuff, and Fiona was actually, she took us through a bit of a session when she was on earlier, or early last year. Anyway, the best, I'm a really good sleeper. I really have really good quality sleep. I think I sleep fairly well. And in fact, when I would go to sleep and I wake up, I'm in the same position as I was when I went to sleep. So it's kind of like, I don't have to make the bed very much. I'll just take the blanket off and I'll put it back down. So in mindfulness, then, doing that while you're awake is that kind of like getting back into that state of, I'm not sure what it is, when you're asleep.
Yeah. I think what I should probably do is probably lead you through a meditation, because what this is it's good to practice this stuff like when you're sitting in quiet, you know what I mean? Because they are good conditions, people always say, I don't want to meditate, I want to sit, but you can do this anywhere, anytime, this connecting to the embodied experience, this connecting to a grounded experience. You can do this anyway. You can be. I teach people about walking on country, about how to actually walk and be fully present of both, of the many levels that we can be present on. Because many times when we're doing something, we're actually our mind's caught up in its mental thoughts. We're having an idea of an experience. We're not having an actual experience. And so when you lead someone through this stuff, you actually, guide someone in how to actually unattach yourself from your mind and connect with your body. And when you do that, you're having that direct experience. Because what you're talking about is sometimes we have the doing mind and the being mind, So, and, the doing mind wants to get somewhere, it's quite activated by a lot of, adrenaline and, where the being mind is more relaxed and more open and creative at the same time, because when you're doing, when you're fearful, your mind closes in, becomes narrow. But when you're being, you actually are more creative. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you actually get more done when if you're worried about where you're going to all the time, you're going to make more mistakes because your mind isn't on what you're doing. But that's only one aspect of mindfulness. It's not about being more efficient. It's not about, it's actually about having a complete embodied experience, if that makes sense. Because it's not about doing or getting anywhere or anything. It's about the being aspect of stuff. Because I actually enjoy. We know that that if you're engaging with experience, that you enjoy it much more than if you're thinking about where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So even if it's boring, it's actually much better to be engaged in it.
We'd love for you to take us through a little meditation, brother, if you can. Speaking of Fiona, she took us through one last year when she come on and had a bit of a yarn to us. She took us through a little meditation. So it'd be great to have a couple of minute meditation.
Yep.
Just before we do that, I just want to say g'day to a few people that have come on to have a listen. So we've got Zane Hendricks and Derek Wilson are both there. We've also got Fiona. Hello, Fiona. Again, thanks for that brilliant question before. We've got Leah Johnson. She's watching. She said, thanks for this catch-up, dudes. Derek Wilson said, I found mindfulness allowed me to neutralise the effects of trauma experienced. I hadn't learned how to do this growing up, given my father's own trauma. It's something I used when working with people, finding that quiet space. Well said, Derek.
Yep.
Do you want to read a couple of those out there, CJ?
Yeah, Derek. The one was this. Leah Johnson said, so I must have tried to get onto Ollie Tai. Derek Wilson said mindfulness is diverse in how it's practiced. And Fiona said, thanks, David, for all your expertise and insights. I love that you are sharing to the world the benefits and transformation practice of mindfulness. We've got Jan Hogan just jumping on. Good morning, Jan. Jan's over in Wales at the moment. She said, hi all. Sorry, a bit late today. I've been for a dog walk on the beach. Beautiful. Before it gets too hot again. Hope all good there. Yes, we're all good. Jenny Woods just come on. Hi, Jenny. Good evening. And yeah, Derek says, please take us through it, David.
Yeah, I think some of the things as Aboriginal people, it's always that thing about, spiritual practice has to kind of find its own grounding in country, and so that's what I try to do, is to kind of connect with, whenever I do a practice on country, we always invite the spirits in, as I did with our introduction before. But also it's about, when I talk about the embodied experiences, that we're talking about actually connecting through to country when we do things. There are other practices I do where I talk about how do we actually bring in, pay respect to our ancestors and see ourselves as a part of that process. And that's a kind of another set of practices called kindness practices, okay? So basically, these practices are settling the mind about allowing the mind to find peace. And from that basic practice of finding peace, settling down our mind's kind of proliferations and distractions, then of course we can launch into many other types of practices, if that makes sense. And one of these is kindness, through our ancestors. Or just being aware of the kindness that's around us, that's present from our Mother Earth. As we know, we look around us and it's all springing to life. It's all love, man. If you know what I mean. It all happens, and we just have to we don't have to generate anything. We just have to connect with that, and through these practices, we actually connect with that. If that makes sense. So it's about that connection. Anyway, I guess one of the things is when you're just breathing, say you take a few breaths, and you're just breathing in and out. And if I said to you, okay, where is the breath in the body at the moment? Maybe you can feel it. If you gave me some feedback, do you feel it in your nose, your mouth, your lungs expanding? Maybe or do you notice the breath in the mind? So is it like a thought in your head? Because what I'm trying to do is say, you can feel it anywhere really. It could be, but what I want you to do is actually get a real experience of that breath. And if you are aware of it as being a thought in your mind, then just try to just unattach from that and just be aware of where it is in the body. Yeah, so just stop for a second. But one of the things about that is that when you're aware of it in the body, is it's actually, you actually can't put your finger on a place. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's kind of, it's a very, the body experience is quite different to the head experience, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that's what the thing is it's not, I'm not talking about a head experience, I'm talking about a body experience, and the breath in the body is quite, but let's start, hey? Too much chatter. Yep, so just no matter how you are, just sit. You can have your eyes open, your eyes closed. It can be a bit better if it's closed. But yeah, just to start with, I'd like you to just become aware of noticing, actually. I invite you to notice the sensations of their face, maybe it's around the lips, the jaw, sensations on the skin, the eyes. Because and just next, if you can just include your awareness to just include the whole head. The head as a bodily sensation, not a thing, not an idea. And we choose the head because our sensation of our head is a step away from our mind. And being aware. And now just moving this down, this kind of bubble of awareness, down to our neck, our shoulders, our back, and our arms. And now noticing the contact of our body with the ground. We may be sitting in a chair and having our behind and legs, and just noticing those connections to the earth. They have a kind of, maybe you can notice a vibration, or you notice a sensation which is different to the rest of the body. And doing this, we have an awareness of the earth, the earth is vast, spacious, it has energy, and we are connected, are part of the earth, as Nura, as Jara. And just for a moment, being aware of that energy that is there, that is a part of us and grounds us. And now I'd just like to draw up some of that energy And first by breathing out through our pelvic floor into the earth, and breathing in through our pelvic floor, along our back, through our heart, our throat, through our head, and maybe to just above the head. And just breathing down into the earth and up again. And as we do this, just letting go. Into the earth and back. And as we do this, we get an uplift. From breathing in and breathing out. And just now getting a sense of poise, of balance, as this flow freely to the earth and back. And maybe we can just adjust our posture slightly, our chin slightly bent, slightly in, tucked in, but not too much. Our neck slightly forward, but not tight. And maybe we can just rock a little bit to the side or back and getting a nice sense of balance. And at this point, you may notice the mind may have wandered. And if you can just bring your attention to, if your mind is wandering as it does, bring it down to our center of gravity, which is between the pelvic floor and the navel, just at the back a bit. And breathing into that area. Drawing the energy down from our mind. You may notice this area expand and contract. And just being aware of the actual sensations in this area, not the imagination, not the mind. Is there energy? Maybe this works for you, maybe it doesn't. And now, just coming up to the heart center. And if you can't feel that, just ask your body. Where is the heart center? Feeling its openness, kindness, compassion. And perhaps we can bring our attention just below and behind the heart as we're breathing. And now, if we can see our body, I like to use the idea of a cloud, because our body, when we're feeling it, has no boundaries. The boundaries are hard to find. And be aware, it's just a cloud of sensation in the body. And maybe where you are, there are sounds. Sounds may be arising in that cloud of experience. Just aware of a rise and fall. And just I just like to end the meditation there. With that sense of expansiveness.
Beautiful, Dave. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yeah, okay. How did you find that? Or how did the guests find any feedback from?
Yeah, we got any feedback for Dr. Dave? Derek Wilson just said, beautiful serenity within. So, yeah, well done. Anyone else like to comment? How'd you go, CJ?
I was very good, thank you. I just needed that, I think, today, after today.
Yeah. So with that what I was doing then is something that you can do anywhere, anytime. You can do whether you're walking. I like people to bring that to everything they do. To be. Yeah. So what I'm talking about is coming from the body. So whether I'm talking to somebody, whatever I'm doing is I'm coming, not coming from my head, an idea. I'm coming from an embodiment, or even a groundedness. And that just completely changes the way that we see our interactions. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
I think that's really important too, Dave. I mean, like we talk about coming from the heart space instead of the mind and these sort of things. So what you're saying is, we can think of any part of the body and come from that instead of the mind. Yeah. Helps to, as you said, ground us, because we all know what grounds us, and it can be different for different people. So yeah, look, really well said, brother. I'm really.
Another thing, yeah, it's great. Yeah, another thing you can do sometimes is you can move your energy around. So if you've got a very base, dull energy, you can move it up into your heart. You can kind of do that. Many of our mental distractions, proliferations, whether it be, like I said before, if you have anxiety, if you bring the energy down into your center of gravity, I think they call it Vihara sometimes, that can help settle the mind. The other thing about moving energy to the back of the heart, so if we have hatred or craving, we can sometimes, if we disattach from our mind and bring our energy to behind the heart, then that's an antidote. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a way with the body as an antidote, as a counter to mental issues that may arise.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Now we've got a couple more comments there, Dave, as well. Zane Hendricks said that was great. So, yeah, well done.
Thanks,
Zane,
Zane.
you'll be able to catch up with Dr. Dave when you get back on North Straddie.
Yeah,
Leah Johnson said, much needed, felt it in my feet. Thanks, Leah.
right.
Derek Wilson said, thank you for sharing, David. Jan Hogan said, went very deep, lovely colours, thank you. And Fiona Criara said, beautiful to just rest inside of myself. Thanks for the meditation. So beautifully done. And Fiona does some amazing work with mindfulness as well, Dave. So love for you two to catch up and have a yarn and talk about some of the great work that you're both doing. So, yeah, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, it's great.
That's great. Little something in our toolbox, I guess, that we can do whenever, like you say, whenever we want to. Yeah.
It's as old as the hills, you know. Exactly.
Yeah, and Dave, that's about again looking after ourselves, isn't it? I mean, we talk a lot about looking after ourselves. Do we actually do it? Maybe not to the extent that we need to do. So this can play a really important part in looking after ourselves. And as you said before, regrounding and just grounding ourselves, whether it be sitting, just in your chair and doing it, So, I mean, because that was, for me, that was really deep, Dave. So I really loved it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
We've got Peter Coombs there. You remember Brother Peter, Dave? He said, good to hear Dr. Dave sharing hope. Hope he's not too cold in the snow. Well, he's back home now, Pete, so he's not too cold. He's back at Straddie. So.
Back on Straddie, yeah. No, it's good. No, it's good. I think to have one of those days, when you're 100 miles an hour, whether you're at work or whatever, you've got some things happening, it's good to just stop and do that. I do that. I do it probably, I don't know, I don't really know that I do it or not, but when I go walking, I just listen to everything. Everything seems to, you can hear the slightest sound sometimes, or if it's by the beach, you can hear the waves and, you can really feel that, everything around you, the environment or the earth, or I think it's great. Yeah, it's really nice.
One of the things I take back from my time, working, at bush with our mob, was just how people just have this sense of, groundedness and said very little, didn't need to say very much because they felt things in their heart, and you got a sense when someone in our culture we talk about lots of words for listening. People use the word jadiri and various other, and we're talking about this deep listening that comes from really a sense of groundedness and listening to ourselves and really killing that advice monster. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? When you're really listened to, somebody does listen to you, then all of a sudden you have this great sense of freedom. You know what I mean? And when you're settled, you can, you're just, you're just taking on the somebody on full and total. And when you have that true sense of being, acknowledged, listened to, witnessed, in a way that our people talk about, yeah. And this is effortless, it's spontaneous. It really doesn't, yeah.
And you're spot on too, Doc. Those things that people, they want to be heard. Everyone's got a story to be told. So it is about us finding that way of being able to listen and acknowledge others with their journeys, their stories, brother. And you're right. I know, like CJ and myself, with the work that we do, like in our communities, it's so good for people to be able to feel listened to, feel that they can get their story out there and have a say, where sometimes they don't get that chance.
The other bit is about listening to country. I remember I was, went out once with this young fella, this old fella, really old man was sitting there on the ground and, by a tree and, went out, come back a few hours in the afternoon, he's sitting there. I go, oh, what are you doing? He goes, oh, there's plenty going on. You know what I mean? He was just being aware.
Yeah, he's doing lots. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Yeah, I think also when you can hear the message within the message. You know what I mean? When someone's talking to you and trying to tell you something, you can actually hear. Although the words, whoever's talking, you can understand them, but you can also hear that the message in behind the words. It's really, sometimes it's confusing because you don't know where you're trying to find where this person's coming from, and by just listening, and it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Another thing you can do is you can do that thing probably just before just then. You can actually, like I said, you can, if you find your mind is trying to think about what to say next, whatever it is you just bring yourself to your heart, or you bring yourself to whatever it is. And some of the best stuff you do with people is you say, okay, let's take 5 minutes to just ground ourselves before we say anything. And so we're coming from, this space of relaxation, where the body is talking rather than our proliferations of our mind are talking.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, Dr. Dave, because the thing is that so many people talk themselves out of things. As you're saying, that monkey mind starts and it keeps going and going and going, and in the end, you talk yourself out of whatever you're trying to achieve. So if we can put it back into like our body rather than being in our mind all the time, I think it's such a beautiful experience, brother. So, yeah,
when we do that, it's great because when we do that, we can actually watch the mind from the body. We throw it out, and we can watch it just go on. You know what I mean? And I laugh at it. I laugh at myself all the time. I'll sit there and like have a little laugh and go, "What a bloody hell!" It's like somebody else. Is carrying on. Especially when I'm trying. It's like sleeping at night. Sometimes I can do that. My mind is going. I'll watch it and go, "Oh yeah." And I just do this over and over again, and it works. It works like it works. It's almost like magic.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah, that's right. It's very nice. I really appreciate that today. It's had a pretty busy day and a lot on my mind, I suppose. So it like I think Derek said it. He said, look, what did he say, Jack? I'm just trying to see where these messages are going. He came into mindfulness late in life, and now he uses mindfulness mornings and evening to settle his mind and prevent the impact of work-related vicarious trauma. Melinda Rose down in Victoria, she says, hey, all very chaotic here at the moment. So I'll listen tonight when the kids are in bed cases have jumped here and a lot of tier 1 exposures. My results turned negative. Stay safe. Well done.
So Melinda's in Mildura, CJ, down in Victoria, as you said. So, some cases down there now.
Jan Hogan says, in these anxious days of COVID, just taking 3 deep breaths and exhaling and saying to yourself slowly, I am breathing in, I'm breathing out, really helps while slowly breathing in and out to calm the nervous system. Yeah. And
well said, Jan.
Derek says, so true. Sometimes people overthink looking for perhaps an agenda that's not there. And I love that Dr. D smiles and laughs. There you go, mate. Laughs at you.
He's always been like that, Dr. Dave. He's always had a smile on his face and always good for a yarn too, I must say.
Very good. Yeah. So
tell us a little bit about what's happening on the island at the moment. Now, I do have to ask you a question, Dr. Dave. Have you been to CJ's pizza place?
I have a teleconference every Thursday, and so I have a Thursday pizza night. so to myself, have a little. So I always ring up. They know me.
We actually know that's CJ that we're on here with. That's actually him and his son's pizza place. So it's so beautiful.
That's good. I haven't been over lately, so I'm looking forward to coming over. And I hear, Dr. Dave, that from a couple of staff there, I think Karen was talking about it, and I think Kenny over at Capella Bar, that we might be having the beach walk for cancer again in November.
Great.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. I think that'll be fantastic. They usually walk, from Back Beach all the way up to Point. So it's about 10K all the way along that beach, main beach.
Yeah, I'll be on that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. I reckon it'll be fantastic. We'll go over JB, what do you think?
Yeah, I reckon we should. Well, I keep threatening Dave that we're coming over to see him, so we need to get there.
Yeah. So it should be pretty good, I reckon. It'll be a good turnout. We had a lot of community come with us the last time we went, and there were a lot of people who have, had some of those conditions with cancer. So it was really, gave good incentive, I suppose, to do it. To go and do that. Raise a bit of money as well for the cause. So we made a good donation. To men's health and women's health. So really good.
Yeah. I get a lot of see a lot of cancer actually on the island. Much more than. For a small population, it's really.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, eh?
It's pretty sad, yeah. But
can I just ask a question about that? Are we getting it earlier now, or as in, are we picking it up earlier now and being able to get it treated, or what's happening there with that, Doc?
People are living longer.
Yeah.
Basically, because we used to die of heart disease. Like my father died in his 30s of a heart attack. And I'm still alive. So a lot of people we're treating heart disease now. The drugs are great. They lower your cholesterol. They lower your blood pressure. People aren't dying of strokes and heart attacks. Our people aren't dying of them in their 30s and 40s and 50s and so forth. And so, because for living older, as you're older, you live. You instead of dying of heart disease, we're getting more cancers. So, unfortunately, it's something to look forward to as part of having a long life. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think my dad died when he was in the 40s. I think mum and dad. So I'm dealing with a bit of prostate cancer at the moment. So I've got an appointment on Wednesday at oncology. I suppose I've got to go and do that.
Yeah.
Keep up with my appointments, so I should be good.
That's pretty good, eh? I mean, it's a miracle these days. A lot of stuff we can treat. When I was a young fella, was just that was it. But these days, it's one of a pick up things early enough. Yeah, we can. Yeah.
And that's just a little reminder to us all as well, like both male and female, get to your GP and, have that annual checkup or, checkup that you need to, because, if we can pick it up early, as you say, Doc, there's ways of now treating things that, it doesn't have to be, a death sentence. So.
Yeah, definitely, brother.
Yeah, there's also that thing about if you come from a long line of people who never lived, especially men who never lived very long, you just don't think about, in my mind, I couldn't imagine being old because around me there weren't any old men. There weren't any, and these days it's a different, and that's part of it as well, is you've got to have that belief, that you can see a future self, and the more people we have around us, elders and stuff like that, and the more we can kind of, just have gratitude for a long life. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on, brother. I think, I think a lot of us never seen ourselves growing old because, as you said, it was the thing that people died young, you know what I mean? But now certainly, I think I think we are looking after ourselves a lot better, even our fellas, people say our fellas won't talk about their concerns and issues, but we all know that, if we can get our lads in a safe environment and, in a well-facilitated space, lads will talk about what their concerns and issues are, but they'll also talk about what the solutions are as well, because they know what the solutions are, So,
yeah. And, and I guess, practicing mindfulness as we did today is also a great way, in terms of, probably not thinking about that too much. Also giving that energy to the right spots. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you think about things behind your heart or going through your lungs and things like that. So it's about, putting that sort of focus on that.
Well, the mind is the same as the body. If we allow our body to do what it wants, it's going to sit around, be a couch potato, eat rubbish. That's that's what people want to do. Is you want to tuck into that big bucket of KFC, perhaps. I'm not sure, but and the thing is, you don't. If you allow a body to do what it wants, it's going to basically poison itself. And our mind is exactly the same. If we allow our mind to do if we allow our mind just to carry on, it thinks a lot of negative, self-hating, damaging thoughts. You know what I mean? And so if you spot it doing that, and your same thing is you give the mind healthy stuff.
Yes.
Can I ask you, Dave? Why do we self-sabotage? Why do we do this?
Part of it's part of our engineering. Our minds are built to look out for threats. And dangers all the time. That's how we survive, especially threats from other people. We've got to compete against the other guy as well. And so part of it is a natural thinking. A lot of it is, I think, there's a lot of damage. I think Western culture, because I know people who aren't Western, I think there's a lot of brokenness in Western culture. There's a lot of self-hatred, self-deprecation. People, and that becomes a part of our. I was brought up to be very threat-oriented. As part of my, as a man, and part of it was that damages you. It sucks your energy. It takes your focus. It stops you from being integrated, if that makes sense. And so you want your energies to be integrated, don't you? You want them all to come. You don't want them all going flying off everywhere. And part of that is that we train the mind. We spot when our mind's doing what it does, and we're aware of it. That's what it does, and we just kind of be more skillful in what we're doing. We learn how to have more skill. So they say it's like learning how to make a spear straight. A person who can do that is very skillful. I can't do it. And so the same way we work with our mind, we work on the same way. It's about learning the skills, and mindfulness is one of those skills that we lose, and kindness and all those other things, and gratitude, and
Well, and I think like CJ and I both talk a lot about this, don't we, CJ? With being able to celebrate what we're actually doing well, because I suppose we hear a lot of the negative stuff that goes on in our communities, and they make the best news stories. We don't hear a lot of the good stuff that happens, and what we need to be doing is celebrating, and and that is about patting ourselves on the back, or patting our brothers and sisters on the back, and being able to celebrate what we are actually doing well, because I can guarantee you that everyone somewhere is doing something well.
Celebrating. It's also decolonizing our mind, like being aware that this is a product of colonization. Is we have that on our backs, as well, and part of actually moving forward as a people is to actually move forward as yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because the more that you bring yourself up, the more that you bring up everybody around you. So it's not about me. It's actually a very radical thing to be doing, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Looking after your mental health is an active, radical kind of change of ourselves and our societies and our people. Yeah.
Now we've got just a couple more comments there. We've had some beautiful comments tonight, Dave. So well done. Derek Wilson said, first-hand experience, heart attack last September. Great meds. Charlie, sending you lots of strength, brother. That's so true. Trisha Harrison over in London. Good morning to you, Trish. It's amazing what they can do. My dad had prostate cancer over 50 years ago, got treatment, and bless him, he is still going strong at 90 years old today. Oh, well done. That's such a beautiful story. Derek Wilson said, my partner's mother kept traditional medicine had cancer in 82, combined both traditional with Western medicine and lived to 101. Fantastic stories. You got a couple there, CJ, you want to read out?
Yeah, partner's mother, that's right. And our role, Derek's role is to support the next generation. They're a really deadly mob coming through. Just for their future. Jan says, I met a lady on the beach with 2 walking sticks due to arthritic knees and back, waiting for her op, walking her 15-year-old blind and deaf collie on a 10-week motorhome holiday. Inspirational lady, not an ounce of self-pity, just positive vibes.
Beautiful.
You're running some very nice people, don't you?
Yeah.
Very broken system with classism, etc. I find more people, in particular young people, seeking alternative to that colonialised system. He said, "That's Derek." Again, spot on, Jack and David. And Letitia had a love tonight's check-in. Jack and Charlie, you deadly Dr. David. Mindfulness is something I suggested. I struggled to prioritise in my life to ground myself and eliminate negative energy. Also, thanks so much, Charlie, for sharing with everyone, sending strength your way. Thank you very much, Letitia. Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well done.
No, it's very
Dave, absolute pleasure having you on, brother. Always great yarning to you. I love listening to you. I love your wisdom. I love your guidance. Thank you so much. And we will get you back on again. Have another yarn, brother, because an hour is too short with all the stuff that we want to hear you talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, love the share. Love the share with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic energy. It really is.
Really good, yeah. And I think it really needed it. I think there's so much craziness going on out there, all that noise. And, we need to sort of come back and, calm ourselves. Thanks very much, Dr. David.
Yep, turn off your media. That's what I say.
It's so true, though, brother. We don't watch much the news or anything like that, and sometimes there's just too much fear going on in the media and those sort of things. Look, loved having you on, Doc. We will get over to see you very shortly. To say g'day again and, all that sort of stuff. Thanks for everyone for joining in and some great questions and great feedback there for that. The meditation was beautiful, Dave. So thanks so much for that.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Over and out for now, everyone.
See you later.
See you next Monday.
See you guys.